The big rivalry returns. It's old foes India and Australia battling it out for the coveted Border Gavaskar Trophy. King Kohli and his army made history during their last tour down under, ending a 72-year winless drought in Australia. This team set new standards for those to follow. Virat and his men are at it again. With the same vigour, they now take on a full-strength Aussie group looking to set the record straight. With their aces back in the fray, this Australian unit will pose new threats and steeper challenges. And with a new reality setting in, Team India will have to make critical adjustments and ensure they're on top of their assignments even when the going gets tough. These men will have to overcome all odds to tame mighty Australia. And for that, they will need the perfect game plan.
The Indian team, which ended a long wait of 71 years in Australia on their last trip, are ready for round 2 of the fiercest battle in Test cricket. It's time once again for the Border Gavaskar series. 4 Test matches to be played in Australia. We've got Mr. Gavaskar. We've got a man who's played some incredible knocks in this tussle in the Border Gavaskar series. Matthew Aaron. Matthew, just at the top, a message from the entire country. We've given you Sunny Bhai, but he's there for a short trip. It's on loan. Neither are we giving Mr. Gavaskar, nor is India giving the Border Gavaskar trophy.
We're keeping him in isolation like we plan to keep India in isolation when it comes to the trophy captain. We want it back.
No, but it's great to have both of you here. Sunny Bhai, some incredible memories. You know, history was created when Virat Kohli led his team the last time around 2018-19. The first team to win a Test series. But that alone will not be enough this time around, especially in front of a full-strength Australian team.
What happened a couple of years ago when India beat Australia was fantastic. Because as you said, after so many years, after 1947-48, India won for the first time ever. Now, whether they'll be able to do that this time around is another matter. But it is a challenge, which I do believe that this Indian team is capable of meeting, because they have now a couple more years of experience.
The Border Gavaskar series has always been extremely high, if not right at the top. When you talk about relevance, it's a series that's widely anticipated. But this time around, it's not just that trophy, the Border Gavaskar trophy, but also it's the World Test Championship that's added another dimension to it, and especially the new point system. So what's at stake? Let's first find out and then carry on the conversation.
For the longest time, India was sitting comfortably at the top of the ICC World Test Championship points table. But in November, the ICC changed the ranking system because of the disruption in the cricket calendar due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's definitely surprising because we were told that points are the point of, the matter of contention for the top 2 teams qualifying in the World Test Championship, and now suddenly it's become percentage out of nowhere. So it's very confusing. It's very difficult to understand why.
Under the new system, the top 2 teams will be determined by the percentage of points earned from the matches played, instead of absolute number of points. As of now, India have earned 360 out of 480 points, which gives them a percentage of 75, while Australia are in first place because they have a percentage of 82.2. India's 4 Test series down under is worth another 120 points. So each win is worth 30 points, while a draw will fetch both teams 10 points. With New Zealand playing West Indies and then Pakistan at home, there is a chance that the Kiwis could put pressure on India. This is India's penultimate series in the World Test Championship before hosting England for a 4 Test match series next year. And Kohli's men will want to cement their place in the top 2 to contest in the final in England in June next year.
Are you okay with the new system? Because the ICC said this is the only way, there can be some parity in what's been a very challenging year to make sure there is that final next year. And will this play on India's mind to make sure that you retain your spot in the top 2?
Well, I think it certainly makes it a little more difficult because before the percentage points came into play, India was comfortably at the top of the table, comfortably. So now with the percentage points, India has slipped to number 2, despite not having played much cricket. But then that can be said about everybody else in the last 8 or 9 months. How these percentage points come about is, to me, as confusing as the Duckworth-Lewis method.
Of course, Haydos, for Australia, they'd be delighted with the scheduling of the series, right? Starting with a day and night test, they won all 7 that they've played and all 4 that they've played day and night test matches at the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah, they play well in Adelaide, especially under the lights, and it's a difficult scenario to adjust, I think, more the point for touring sides. They find Australian conditions difficult anyway. But I guess, you know, from the perspective of which one you'd want to play first, I would have thought Australia would have liked to play at the Gabba. It's the most unique ground in the world. That would have, you know, been the ultimate way to get India, I think, off balance a little bit. But Adelaide under lights with that record that they do have is going to be a really good hand up for the Australian cricket team lineup. And I think, you know, we've seen it so many times at Adelaide, in every one of those games where you get that half light, that switch over light with the pink ball, it becomes a very strategic opportunity for a batting side and a bowling side to really dig in and make impact. So
it's going to be challenging. We'll wait and find out which team is in the pink of health for the first pink ball test that kickstarts the series. But we were also hoping for a delightful contest between 2 modern greats on the field, Steve Smith versus Virat Kohli. But we'll just get an appetizer in the first test. Steve Smith clearly holds the edge in this contest, but Captain Kohli would love to set the tempo before heading home for another beautiful chapter in his life.
27 test hundreds for one, 26 for the other, and 7 centuries in India-Australia tests for both. There isn't much to separate 2 of the greatest batsmen this decade, Steve Smith and Virat Kohli. After missing India's previous tour down under because of a ball tampering ban, Smith has reclaimed the top spot in the rankings, averaging a phenomenal 73.4 since August last year. Sensational Smith rules the battleground down under. He has the second best average at home after Sir Don Bradman. And Smith has extraordinary numbers against Team India at home. He scored 100 in each of the 4 tests during India's tour of Australia in 2014-15.
Whether it be an Ashes series or an Indian series, they're the 2 biggest, I guess, for us. As first test or the first game of the series, I've started really well against India, and I've been able to, you know, get in a bit of rhythm, and then it's probably helped me throughout the rest of the series.
King Kohli, on the other hand, has just 1 test to make an impact on the series before he goes on paternity leave. There is no doubt that Kohli loves batting against Australia. He has 600s in just 12 tests down under. Interestingly, 3 of Kohli's 600s in Australia have come at Adelaide, which is the venue for the first test of the series.
I've come here through different stages of my career and my life. Starting with 2012, I think it was my opportunity and a start to my international career as a test player. Full tour in 2018, which obviously was very memorable for all of us. But it's been amazing. It's been a full roller coaster of a journey till now coming to Australia.
The challenge in Adelaide will be different this time. It's India's first day-night test away from home. But Kohli had scored a century in India's inaugural pink test in Kolkata last year.
Well played once again, Virat Kohli. A century that is a source of so much joy.
With 2020 coming to an end, this is Super V's last opportunity to score a century this year and help India gain a significant advantage in their quest to retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy.
How would Virat Kohli approach this test match? He knows that he's travelling back home after this. It's the pink ball test, under lights, first test match of the series. What would his approach be, or what should it be?
He's playing at his favourite ground. Adelaide is where he's got 300s. He's played, I think, 3 test matches over there. He's got 300s over there. And in 2015, he got a century in each innings. So that'll be something that he will, be there to encourage him to play. I don't think the approach will change that much. Yes, it's the pink ball, So it'll probably move a lot more than the white ball or even the red ball does.
We just have the luxury and privilege of watching this contest in one test. But Australia would be delighted that it's only one test. I mean, without taking anything away, Steve Smith, he's another committed, driven cricketer in a league of his own in test matches.
And he loves playing against India as well, Jack. He's almost scored 1,500 runs at 100, just sub 150 average. So he's had plenty of success against India. He'll be a little bit dirty as well that he wasn't involved in the 18-19 series, you know, where India did get up. That was a big loss for Australia and a big loss for him in person as well, because in the 14-15 series, he had a huge average, about 128 or something like that, and 700 plus runs. So he was a major contributor to that series. So sometimes, you know, the wounded warrior is something to be very careful of. We've already seen Smith come out in the one-day series and start to look to dominate India. He's got a couple of hundreds already. He's looked dangerous in that format of the game, and he'll be hungry. There's a bit like Virat. There's no end to the size of their stomach when they start consuming runs. They really just love it.
Team India and Indian fans would be hoping Steve Smith does not have a fantastic series and that Virat gets a lot of runs in the first test. But let's have a look at the Indian side, because Rohit Sharma's absence has been the talking point. India missed him in the ODI and the T20 series, but they'll probably miss him as much, at least in the first two test matches. But they'll also miss another Sharma in the bowling department, and that is the experience of Ishant Sharma. But it brings us to our next big burning question. In the absence of Rohit Sharma, at least for the first two test matches, who is going to start the series alongside Mayank Agarwal come the first test match in Adelaide?
Ahead of the test series against Australia, who is going to open and face the music from Australia's pace attack? Mayank Agarwal, who made his test debut during the last tour down under, is the first choice. He is India's leading run scorer in the World Test Championship with 779 runs at an average of over 55. But who should partner Mayank at the top? Prithvi Shaw missed the last test series in Australia because of an injury. But since his comeback in 2019, the 21-year-old has played 3 first-class games and has a top score of 202. Shaw also opened in the test series in New Zealand earlier this year. While he scored only 98 runs in 2 matches, his strike rate of 72 showed he can give India quick starts. But Shaw will have to overcome his weakness against the short ball on bouncy Australian pitches and regain his confidence after a poor performance in the IPL. The second contender is Shaw's former under-19 teammate, Shubman Gill. Gill has been part of India's test squad for a while, but he hasn't made his debut yet. Gill has enjoyed tremendous success as an opener in the first-class circuit, averaging 70 with 500s under his belt. This might just turn out to be Gill's big opportunity in international cricket.
We have definitely discussed those things. We are looking at giving opportunities to the younger players. There are a lot of young guys in the squad waiting to get out onto the park and play in a place like Australia. It's a great opportunity for them, and how they can take their game to the next level and grow that confidence and, you know, keep helping the team go forward.
The third contender is in the form of KL Rahul, who is making a comeback to the test side. Rahul had a forgettable tour of Australia in 2018. He couldn't score a 50 and was dropped ahead of the Boxing Day test. But Rahul has a lot of first-class experience and he's been in good form recently in limited overs cricket. So who will walk out to face the new ball for Team India at the Adelaide Oval come December 17th?
Sunny, the opening conundrum in the absence of Rohit Sharma. Who opens with Mayank Agarwal? There's Prithvi Shaw, Shubman Gill and KL Rahul in the fray.
Well, I'd like to think that, you know, whoever does well in those 2 3-day matches which are there before the first test, I think that person will be in contention to open with Mayank Agarwal. In my team, I would have KL Rahul as a wicket keeper, batting at 6. because in the first test itself, batting at number 6, because then it gives you the opportunity to pick 2 spinners as well as 3 fast bowlers.
But Sunny, the good thing is that forget the openers, forget 4 and 5, at least at number 3, we've got another dependable wall, Cheteshwar Pujara, who is the best batsman for India on the previous tour. He hasn't played much cricket from early on in 2020. But knowing Pujara, he'd like to compensate for all these months and spend good 10-15 days of the tour all by himself.
Oh, yes, absolutely. If you can get him to bat out of 20 days of Test cricket that we have ahead of us, he'd be very happy to bat 15 days, no question about it. So whether he's played any cricket or not, I don't think it's going to make any difference, because he's so strong mentally that he loves batting. He loves being at the crease. He loves wearing the bowlers down. And he's also, in the last maybe 2 years, he's also improved his stroke range of shots.
Yes, well, as you know, Australians love to drink coffee, and we've decided to go out in a little campaign to make sure that we've got plenty of caffeine when it comes to watching Pujara bat. But you know what the reality is? He hurt us badly. I mean, we're of a generation now where we're admiring people for their strike play. We're admiring people for their strike rate. Well, he's one of the few guys in Test cricket that have a strike rate of, 45, sub 45.
Sunny, now coming to another very important member, even more so this time, Ajinkya Rahane. He knows he will be the designated captain for 3 Test matches. It's not probably being about stand-in. The series will hinge on how he leads. He's got an experience of 2 Test matches spread around, good games. How will he deal with the pressure, and how important is for Rahane's batting to allow him that aggressive intent when he's leading the team?
Well, see, there's no real pressure on Ajinkya Rahane because both the times that he's led the team, he has won. He led against Australia at Dharamshala, India won. He led against Afghanistan, India won. So as far as his captaincy is concerned, there's been going to be no pressure, because he knows he's at the moment only a stand-in captain, albeit for the 3 Test matches. So I don't think the fact about being a captain or carrying on as a captain is going to be part of his thinking at all. He'll do the job as honestly as he plays his cricket, and which means that as a batsman, he will go out there and try, and like Pujara, try and grind the opposition in, play a few more shots maybe.
Time for us to head into a short break here on Game Plan. When we return, threats from the Australian squad and what are India's bowling plans going to be. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Game Plan, building up to the most awaited Test series. That's India versus Australia. Now, the one worry for the hosts is David Warner's injury concern. He injured his groin in the limited overs leg. You've got the best bowlers in the business in Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, and arguably one of the finest off spinners in Nathan Lyon. But let's be honest, it's Australia at home, and they're always a gigantic task. Let's find out who are the threats for Team India from the Australian side.
Marnus Labuschagne has been in a league of his own ever since he became Test cricket's first concussion substitute during the Ashes last year. With over 1,200 runs at an average of 83, Labuschagne is the highest run scorer in Tests since August 2019.
We've watched how Marnus plays, and I've enjoyed watching him on television. And yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully, he won't score that many runs against us.
Labuschagne was also the leading run scorer during Australia's previous home season, and his conversion rate is also exemplary as he turns most of his starts into big scores. There is no stopping the pocket dynamo when it comes to taking on India. David Warner has scored almost 700 runs against India in Tests at home. Warner was unstoppable in Australia's last home season, and he registered his highest Test score in the Day-Night Test in Adelaide. The world's #1 Test bowler, Pat Cummins, will pose one of the biggest challenges for Kohli's men. Cummins is the leader of the Aussie pace attack and has the second most wickets in Tests since 2019. He especially excels against India and recorded the best figures in the 2018 Border Gavaskar Trophy. Even when India created history on their last tour down under, off-spinner Nathan Lyon ended the series as the joint